If you're just kind of on the fence of this, this is a cool fan. It's a cool system. The one recommendation I would give everybody is pay careful attention to what cables you think you need. And I would recommend plan for some extra ones, at least the 90-degree ones. Maybe just pick up a couple of extra ones. So the Corsair QX120 fans no doubt have a lot going for them, but are they really that much better than all of the other fans that are out on the market? I've looked at the Lian Unifan SL120 version 2. I've also looked at the Phanteks D30-120. I don't have a set with me today, but I have looked at the Thermaltake SWAFAN EX120, which was a really cool fan. So let's just kind of take a look at how these other fans contrast and compare to the QX120 fans by Corsair. Now, obviously, one of the main features of a QX120 fan is the iCUE link system. Now, I looked at that in the video over the summer, but in case you missed that and you're not familiar with the iCUE link system, it's basically just a single hub. It's got a couple of ports on it, and that port can drive a number of different fans, 14 devices total, 7 on each chain. The fans will connect together using these little connection pieces and lugs that kind of line it up, and you connect them together, and then you connect a cable just on one side. Of course, you can then daisy chain it from there to other devices, including AIOs, water pumps, things like that. The other cool thing about this system is you can kind of customize the cable a little bit. You can purchase additional lengths, so you can kind of customize what fits best in your system. There's a couple of different connectors, a standard one, which is just kind of a straight through connector. There's also a 90-degree connector, which will help you in tight places. One of the frustrating things, even as I look at reviews online for this system, is that the kit only comes with 2 cables, and if you're left with using one of the standard connectors, that does not fit very well in a lot of cases that I've put it in. Often I have not had the right cable for the situation that I'm in, and I have found myself left frustrated with the iCUE link system. Not because it's not cool and it doesn't work, but because when you've bought all of your components and you're ready to do your big build and you've got the whole day set aside to do it and you're in the middle of it, and then you find that this stupid cable doesn't fit, or you're having to do some wizardry magic to get it in there or rearrange your entire plan because you need to get this one cable to fit. It can be really frustrating when you're like, oh, if I had these other cables, it would be perfect. But the only downside to that is A, it's an expense. These cables are not cheap. This little kit here of 2 small cables was 20 bucks. You either have to take time out of your day to go locate some, if you're lucky. I don't even know if Best Buy carries any of these yet. Or you have to get online and order them, delaying your build for a couple of days. That can be just a really frustrating part of this system. As of the date I'm filming this in late December, right now, the only iCUE link fans that I'm aware of are the QX120 fans or the QX140. It's essentially the same fan, you just get it in a 120mm version or 140mm version. That's the only game in town for iCUE link right now. All of the other offerings from Corsair are still available. LL120, the QL120s, all of the RGB controllers are still available out there, and they're still very relevant. I've got lots of videos on this channel about that. So anyways, right now, as far as I know, this fan is the only one for iCUE link. There's a number of other different devices out there, AIOs. I've got an LCD panel upgrade. I think some of the water cooling components are available for iCUE link. So it's growing. So maybe next year we'll get some other fan offerings. Now, as I mentioned, this fan comes in a 120mm version, 140mm version. Comes in both black and white. You can buy it as a single fan or a kit. The 120mm version will come with 3 of them. I believe the 140mm version will come with 2 of them. The kits, of course, will come with the iCUE link hub and a couple of cables to get you started. Now that we've got the main feature of the QX120 fans out of the way, the iCUE link system, is it a good fan? Above that, it's still just a fan, right? And it needs to be a good fan at that, especially for the price that you're going to pay for these. So let's talk about the specifications of these fans. Now the airflow rating is 16.4 to 63.1 CFM. That's going to vary along the RPM range. The RPM range is 480 RPM to 2400 RPM. It will also do 0 RPM on the hub as well. The static pressure is 0.17 up to 3.8 at the max RPM. The sound level ranges from 10 decibels to 37 decibels. Now I will say that these fans are not quiet. At 2400 RPMs, that's faster than a lot of fans that are out there. It is not a quiet fan at that, but at the lower ranges, it does a really good job. It's got 34 RGB LEDs on each fan. Now it comes in 4 separate rings, 2 on the front and 2 on the back, so they do look really good. From the rear, you do get a nice logo on here, whereas some fans you just get kind of like the electrical specifications on it. This here, you do get a nice Corsair logo that's lit. So even from the rear, these look really good. Now it goes without saying, but just to clarify, these fans do require the iCUE link hub. You're not going to control them in any other manner. Now each fan does have a built-in temperature sensor. I think the usefulness of that's going to vary per individual. It's not a bad thing that it's there. It's very cool. And in iCUE, it's just another sensor that you can read the temperature. Of course, you can control the individual fans based on their individual sensors, or you can keep them tied to the CPU or GPU sensors or any of the other sensors that you might have in there. So anyways, it's kind of a nice addition that it's there. I haven't particularly used it a whole lot, but it's kind of fun to mess around with it, and you could certainly do some custom fan curves and things like that based on that temperature sensor. So it's not a bad thing that it's there. It's kind of a cool addition. To me, overall, the fans look really good. Now, everybody's going to have a differing opinion on what looks good and what doesn't look good, but I really do particularly like this fan. Now, the fan is very well built. It's very robust. When you're holding it in your hand, you can tell it's not a cheap fan. It's, you know, it's not twisting and it's not bending, and it's just kind of a solid built fan. You know, which we would expect from Corsair and at this price range. So let's just kind of take a look at how these other fans contrast and compare to the QX120 fans by Corsair. The airflow on the Phanteks D130 is 64.3, RPM range is 250 to 2000. Pressure on the Phanteks is 3.01 millimeters H2O. Noise, 30 decibels, that'll be at max RPM, of course. The price of these is going to be $89.99. So the Phanteks kit's quite a bit cheaper, but this also doesn't include the controllers or anything like that. It's got a different connection system to get it back to your motherboard. It's kind of got these bridge connectors. It has a single cable coming off of it. Works great. There's some standard PWM and standard ARGB connectors for the Phanteks ones. Now the Lian SL120 V2 fans, the specifications of this fan: the bearing on the Lian is a fluid dynamic bearing. The max airflow on this is 64.5. RPM range is 250 to 2000. The pressure is 2.59 millimeters H2O, and the noise is 29.2 decibels. The SWAFAN EX120 fans that I looked at just for comparison, now that has two different blades with it, and the specs do differ on the standard blade versus the reverse blade. I'm just going to talk about the standard blade here because that's all the QX120 is going to come with. The RPM range on the SWAFAN EX is 500 to 2000. Max airflow is 57.11. The pressure on that fan is 2.39 millimeters H2O. The SWAFAN EX also is a hydraulic bearing. The noise level of the Thermaltake fan is 30.6 dBA. The Thermaltake fan kit, of course, comes with both blades, so you can make it a reverse fan if you want to. I really like that feature. I really did like the SWAFAN EX 120 fan kit. It's got an included controller. Of course, Lian has its own included controller. What I like about the Lian controller is I can sync it to a motherboard, which means I can sync it to Corsair and make it look really cool. The Phanteks D30 again doesn't have a controller, but it has a standard 3-pin ARGB connector on it, so I can sync it with iCUE as well. The SWAFAN EX has its own controller, and unfortunately, as with some of the Thermaltake stuff, you really can't sync that to a motherboard. I did look at the TT Sync Hub a little while ago, which kind of gives you the ability to sync it with a motherboard, but it says right in there that it does not work with the SWAFAN EX. Now, as far as controlling the system in iCUE, it's easy to get in there and set them up and control all the lighting. The one new lighting feature that you do get, and it's an awesome one at that, is the time warp. Time warp is a mechanism where that kind of blinks the lights at a certain frequency, and it'll make it look like the blades are standing still. I mean, obviously you can tell that it's kind of a persistence of vision thing where they're still moving, but it looks really cool. They're not the first ones to do it. As I mentioned in another video, you know, this AMD Wraith Prism kind of does the same thing. It's a mirage effect, but this takes that to the next level, to where you can actually make it look like it's stopped and kind of move it backwards and forwards and do some crazy things with it. It's a very cool looking feature. Would you buy it only for that? Perhaps. You know, probably not, but it is a cool feature that helps kind of digest the price of this a little bit. Overall, in my opinion, the QX120 is a very capable fan. It's robust, it looks great, it's got lots of cool features. The iCUE link is a pro and a con, depending on how you look at it. If you're just careful up front, it'll just be a pro. If you're not careful, you're not paying attention, it could be a con and just frustrate you. It's not that you can't fix it and go get the cables, but just be aware of that. But from a cooling perspective, it's got all the specifications in the right place. It's got a good RPM range, really good airflow. It's got a good static pressure, so it's suitable for behind a radiator. In fact, the AIO that Corsair sells comes with these already pre-equipped on it. So from a cooling perspective, this is a very capable fan. It's every bit as comparable to these. In fact, the price of the QX120 fans, I've seen it vary from $139.99 for the kit to $159.99 for the kit, with the cable kits, sometimes a single cable depending on the length. $9.99 to $19.99. This one was 19 bucks for two of them. They're pretty short though. So, but overall, the QX120 definitely competes with all of these other fans. In some cases, the specs are a little bit higher. Some of that's because it does a little bit higher RPMs. And, you know, the downside to that is a little bit more noise. As with anything we do in building PCs, there's always a compromise. And of course, that goes with for anything. There's never the perfect product out there. So there's some compromises if you're going to go with this. You know, it could be maybe price or something like that that you got to give up. But all these kits kind of shine in one way or another. You just kind of have to decide which control mechanism you want. Do you want to go with Corsair and the iCUE Link system? Do you like Lian Li's controller and setup system? I don't like the software as much on Lian Li. The Phanteks fan is a little bit of a thicker fan and really well built. I really do like this fan, and this gives you just kind of some standard connectivity options. I really did like the Thermaltake fan in addition to being able to reverse the blade. And that doesn't come into play on every build that you're going to do, but like a case like this, it would have been really nice. But the magnetic attachment system on the Thermaltake fan was really cool. The fans just snap together with a magnet. There's no clips, no anything. It's a strong magnet that holds it together. The cable just connects with a magnet, and it worked really, really well. But it's a little bit less in the spec area as far as CFM and pressure. Although any of these kits in the vast majority of builds out there are going to be more than adequate for cooling anything that you're doing. So as far as the RGB lighting goes, they all look good in their own right. I don't have a problem with any of them. I've really enjoyed all four of these fan kits. And, you know, the QX120 is no slouch. It looks really good. It's hard to compete with how good this fan looks. The time warp function, I really do enjoy that feature, so check that out. I'll put some video here of that function. So with all that being said, the QX120 is a standout fan. It's great. I really have enjoyed working with it. I would definitely recommend this fan if the price is not an obstacle to you. Put some forethought into the cables. And if it's a fan that you like and you like the Corsair ecosystem, because there's more that goes along with this, right? It's not just the fans, it's the AIOs, it's the LCD panels, it's the water cooling pumps and everything else that you can connect to this same system. So this does kind of expand out your system in a much more cohesive way, where all of these others, great systems in their own right, and certainly would recommend all of these as well. This just takes everything a step forward. But I think you get what you pay for, so I would highly recommend this fan. I will put affiliate links in the description below to all of these products that I've talked about today. Now, obviously, it goes without saying there are lots of other fan kits and fans available out there, and that's not to say that none of those are important, didn't make it into this video. It's just, you know, there's only so much time in the day. There's lots of cool fans that I've looked at. I've got a couple of other kits. But there are many, many good fans out there. And the QX120 RGB fans and the QX140 RGB fans just kind of fit right into that. It's a good high quality system with a couple of additional things. So check these out and let me know what your experience is with the QX120 fans or the QX140 fans. What do you think about them? Let me know in the comments below. But I hope that helps you out, kind of giving you an idea of whether the QX120 fan is worth your time and energy. But that is going to do it for today. Thanks for watching.